I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, June the 6th, brought to you in part by VitaFerm. Cattlemen rely on VitaFerm for performance that pays. VitaFerm quickly and naturally stimulates the digestive system of your cattle with AO-biotics and Amifirm. For more information, go to VitaFerm.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards got a light run. Tell you what, they had a lot of rain the past several days up in the Oklahoma Panhandle. It's too muddy to get a lot of cattle out there. It's too green and pretty out there to get guys to pull some of the cattle off the green grass as they're finally getting some of that. And boy, does that grass respond fast whenever you start getting some moisture there. And then I was talking to Lane Conkle, and he said it looks really good up there, but only about 900 head for the regular cattle auction here on Tuesday. They're going to have 3 loads of 9-weight yearling steers. They typically have at least that many. He said there's going to be a pretty long string, nearly 200 weaned 450-pound steer calves, similar to the consignment that they had last week, but it's a different guy, but be sure good stalker type cattle. A few other mixed deals and a handful of cows. But get on to dvauction.com if you're interested in Beaver County Stockyards. The board agrees with cash for a change just for one day, but it's the opening day of the week, which is a kind of a big deal. And how many times have you seen your cash market jump over the moon and then the board come out on Monday lower just because it can? But it didn't here on this Monday. It was consistently gaining with a moderate basis, about where you would normally see it. And like I've said many times, your live cattle futures kind of coincide with the southern fat cattle market, and 177.15 is where June live cattle settled on Monday afternoon, and or their fat cattle selling in the southern plains late in the week last week at $1.80. So $2 to $3 basis right in there, even though we're early in the spot month. That's kind of typical. So the board was kind of happy with that. Feeder cattle gained a little ground again as corn was just a dab cheaper. And your back months were all consistently higher with what the nearbys were doing. So that makes us feel good about it. Now it may go haywire on Tuesday here, no way, but it's just kind of nice to see it open the week with the way that you think it probably should be. Your corn, like I said, was down a little bit. Haven't had a whole lot of rain where they've been really wanting it out in the eastern corn belt for the most part. They're expecting quite a bit of it to come the middle of this month. If it doesn't come a big rain the middle of this month in the central to eastern corn belt, then we're probably going to see your corn prices on the board kick up a little bit. But right now, there's not a whole lot of extra demand. Our export demand is not great for corn right now because they're just not competitive with the prices for export. Our numbers of cattle are down, so we're not using a lot of it up there. Just not big time demand for corn, just kind of regular type demand there, so nothing to really drive the market. So it's slipping a little bit lower every day, but of course it's just a weather market, and it will be that way until we get much later in the growing season here. But the tightness of supplies last week and currently, of course it didn't change, but we are very, very tight in market ready supplies. But we would have had a much bigger movement in our fed cattle trade last week if we'd have had more cattle ready. We just don't have that many ready. So we saw less than 80,000 sell in the 5-area feeding region and less than 95 sell nationwide. And you would have thought when we gained that much ground, $9 higher in the southern plains and things like that, that we would have seen a whole lot more movement there. The cattle just weren't out there. When the cattle aren't finished, even though the packers are really hungry for them, they're not going to pay that for green cattle, even though they're buying a lot of cattle that are on the green side. But they'll sure give top money for some if you've got some that are well finished and ready to grade. The cutout soared on Monday, so that was great. We saw that working pretty good. and of course our cash feeder cattle markets were sharply higher. Of course, you have to remember a week ago on Monday, our big high volume Monday sales were closed for Memorial Day, so it's a 2-week trend. And they were sharply higher, and probably more than what we saw sales later in the week that had sales both weeks catch up to. So the market's higher to start the week out. Of course, we knew it would be whenever the fat cattle market was up as much as it is. You just wonder at some of these prices that these buyers are paying for feeder cattle, how in the world they're going to make it work. I mean, it's mostly farmer feeders that are coming in giving the biggest prices for them because they know they've got a bumper crop in the field and they're expecting your corn to go down a little bit. They know they can do it cheaper than your commercial feeders are. And it's the northern feeders that are really pushing the market, and they are coming down into the southern plains and buying cattle because it doesn't matter if they've got a lot of hair on them or not. They're going to feed all through warm days and nights anyway, so it's not a big deal. They might feed even better than some of the native cattle that are higher in quality up to the north. But northern feeders are not buying in line with your CME live cattle futures like your southern plains guys are. They're just not doing that because you pencil it out, it's absolutely not working. They're getting used to having a $10 plus basis to work with. You know, we always talk about the basis jumpers, which are mostly in the southern plains, talking about the basis they have. Well, the guys in the northern plains have another $10 on top of that. And most of them are hedged too. Those that have to borrow money would have to be a hedge, of course. But anyway, that's how you can kind of rationalize some of these prices that we're seeing in your feeder cattle auctions. But it's pretty wild. We're starting to hear that the Magoo administration is getting ready to crack down on climate change again. And John Kerry, another aged carcass that's up there, is leading the way. And he says that agriculture has to be on the forefront of this climate change initiative. And he's bound and determined to crack down on the methane that's released by our cattle, and thinks that we need to, whittle down on our herd sizes. Hey, we're whittled down as more than 60 years, guys, right now. So how tight you want to get them? Now, we do have several other countries on there that have signed up to join this. Of course, signing something don't mean anything. Most of them never end up adhering to what they sign, but including Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay and some of those other places that raise cattle. So we'll see how this works out. But what they're really wanting to do is to make beef a luxury item that your everyday person can't afford. But of course, they'll be in the class that they can have as much of it as they want. And that's kind of the way that the Magoo administration has been. And for the most part, all the Democrats have been that way. You know, this is what's good for you, not necessarily me. I know not all of you agree with my politics, but I've got to try to show you what's going on out there, guys. Let's talk about the board on Monday. June live cattle futures up 72 cents at 177.15. August up 37 at 173.27. Your back month's up 32 to up 52. Feeder cattle for August up 70 cents at 242.60. September up 62 at 245.62. Back months all up consistently from 65 to 77 cents, and that's kind of a healthy board to start the week out on. December corn down 4 1/4 cents a bushel at 537. November new crop beans down 4 cents at 11.79 3/4. Kansas City July hard red winter wheat up 10 cents at 8.22 1/4. And I'm not sure the flooding that happened in the southern plains didn't damage what little hard red winter wheat that we have out there that we're planning on harvesting. Talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle market on a direct basis. 79,400 head sold negotiated in the 5 area. That compares to 85,200 the previous week and 70,700 the same week a year ago. Your live sales of fat steers and heifers in the 5 area ranged from 171 to 190. That's $3 to $5 higher on your price range there. Weighted average on live steers 182.03, up $4.09 on your weighted average, guys. It would have been more than that, but we didn't sell any more in the Southern Plains than what we did because they're just not ready, just like the Northern Plains is not ready. But we did see Kansas sell more cattle than Iowa and negotiated, and that's the first time we've seen that in a long time. So if Iowa had been as much bigger than it is than the Southern Plains, then we would have seen a weighted average in your 5 area be more up like $5. But talk about your dress sales last week in fat steers and heifers was 280 to 297. Yes, we had 311 head sell at 297. Pretty impressive there. Steady to $8 higher. And your weighted average on dress steers was 290.05, up 569. And as a general rule, the Southern Plains was $9 higher at 180 towards the end of the week, and that was sure established. Northern Plains 3 to 7 higher, live 183 to 189, 3 to 7 higher also on a dress basis from 285 to 292 for the most part. Now nationwide we sold 93,000 negotiated compared to 99,600 the previous week and 84,400 the same week a year ago. Of the 93,000 negotiated, about 28% of those were said to be for the 15 to 30 day delivery period. Yeah, right. These packers are hungry. They may have 2 to 4 weeks to pick those cattle up, but they're calling for them within the next 2 or 3 days. Hearing that everywhere, guys. So don't let that fool you. But of the 93,000 negotiated nationwide, negotiated grid was 43,000. Forward contracts 52,300, and formula sales last week were a lot lighter than typical, only 240,700. And you think, oh my God, that eclipses all the others put together and more. Yeah, but it's usually 250 and more, maybe 260 and higher, but only 240,700. That's a lot lighter than typical, and that's why they're having to get aggressive in the negotiated market. Of your 4 out of 5 areas, the 5 area that we get information on, Iowa sold 20,300, Nebraska sold 26,200 negotiated, Kansas sold 20,800, more than Iowa, and a lot of those were not slaughtered in the Southern Plains. They went north, and they think, ooh, Kansas, you know, those cows got ears and dewlaps and sheaths on them. That don't have as much hair on them. Yeah, but if you feed them long enough, they grade plenty well and taste pretty darn good, guys. In Texas, 12,100. But I talked to Kevin Larson, who owns Aberdeen Livestock Sales in Aberdeen, South Dakota. He sold some fat cattle on Monday, sold 42 head, 1,414 pound fat heifers. He said they were really fat and then high grading heifers there. Bring 193 and a quarter. And you guys are thinking, oh, Aberdeen, South Dakota, that's Demcota, that regional plant there that was setting the highs in the negotiated market last week. No, it was not Demcota. A major took Demcota out, even though they're only 2 miles from that sale barn. Think about that as you're starting to price your cattle this week, guys. Talk about your box beef cutout values, sharply higher, as I mentioned earlier. Choice cuts up 426 at 314.19. Selects up 580 at 296.73. Your Monday harvest was lighter than typical, only 121,000 head. Not sure if they had any slowdowns or if they just didn't have the cattle ready to deliver, or maybe having trouble getting some of them out. Not sure there, but that was sure 4,000 to 5,000 head light for the first day of the week. Talk about what else is going on. Night Latch Group. Tell you what, I went to the Coors Ranch Rodeo in Amarillo over the weekend, and those ranch bronc riders were using a night latch, and it made me think about Andy Cunningham and his statement there. Hang on to your investment there. That's the reason he come up with Night Latch Group there. And he's the only one of these guys that's talking about gross margin policies, because he's one of the few that's really figured out how to make it work on feeding cattle and the grain that they're eating. For more information, go to nightlatch.net. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. Late in the day on Monday, sitting at 217.43, up another $2.35, guys. Think about that, almost 217.50 on the average of an 800-pound auction steer up through the middle part of the country, guys. That is really impressive. If you're looking for some yearlings, how about Ozarks Regional Stockyard in-house video there in West Plains, Missouri? If you're interested, get a hold of Steve Anderson there at Ozarks Regional Stockyard. He's got about 335 steers sold in load lots and over 1,000 head of heifers. They're going to have that in-house video about 1:30 like they always do. There'll be 11 lots of them. There'll be commodity type cattle for the most part, but I did see some that were sure good enough to go anywhere, and the others are too this time of year, guys. Don't worry about that. But get on the in-house video at Ozarks Regional Stockyard. That's on dvauction.com. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 10,500 head compared to 2 weeks ago, because they were closed last week. Feeder steers called $10 to $15 higher, and that's good market reporting there. Feeder heifers $8 to $10 higher. Steer calves $10 to $20 higher, and heifer calves steady to $5 higher. Very, very impressive in the city on Monday, guys. And a stick out sale that I saw on some steers was 69 head. Thin flesh steers weighed 609, bring 271 in Oklahoma City on Monday. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 12,800 head. This is going to be our biggest stockyard if they keep on like they've started this year out. It's unbelievable the receipts that they're getting, selling the cattle really well. They can sell the best ones at walk or some on the plainer side. It don't matter. They got buyers for all kinds in there. Don't forget they got a special cow sale coming up here on Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon after the weigh-up sale that starts in the morning there on Wednesday. But they've got a really good offering of pairs, bred cows, and some replacement quality bulls there that are breeding age. But at Joplin's feeder sale on Monday, compared to 2 weeks ago again, steers sold $10 to $15 higher, heifers $15 to $25 higher. That's per hundredweight higher than just 2 weeks ago, guys. Oh my gosh. And then the 4-weight stockers, there was a lot of demand for them. They were selling up to $30 higher. Unbelievable. You just don't see trends like that, guys. And Joplin Regional Stockyards was our National Beef Wire stick out sale of the day. Look at this automated market report. Of course, they're broadcast on DV Auction, and they do contribute to Cattle Market Central. Makes it real nice here to pull that information out. Look at your best tested weights, and there was a lot of them. 962 head of full-weight steers in Joplin, average 451, with a weighted average price on all of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly, at 274.44. 1,759 head of 5-weight steers in Joplin, average 552, with a weighted average price on all them at 264.52. 976 head of 7-weight steers in Joplin, average 757, with a weighted average price of 223.47. Guys, this is the market in the lower Midwest. 809 head of 8-weight steers in Joplin, averaged 849, weighted average price 213.46. How about heifers? 1,103 head of 4-weight heifer calves, average 452, weighted average price 252.98. 1,218 head of 5-weight heifers, average 551, weighted average price on all the over 1,200 head of them was 239.78 on the weighted average. 1,138 head of 6-weight heifers, average 643, average 225.35, and 1,019 head. When's the last time you saw 4, 5, 6, and 7-weight heifers all have more than 1,000 head on offer? but 1,019 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 740, weighted average price 216.31. Excellent sale there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock, another DV auction broadcaster there. They had 8,700 head for a barbecue special there, and very, very impressive, especially on the big heavy weights, guys. That's in Worthing, South Dakota. The feeder steers sold 6 to 12 bucks higher than 2 weeks ago. The feeder heifers sold $13 to $15 higher than the last sale, which was 2 weeks ago. And they had 880 head of 8-weight steers, averaged 852 with a weighted average price of 227.37. 985 head of 9-weight steers, averaged 950 at 213.11 on the weighted average. 975 head of 8-weight heifers. It's hard to make heifers weigh over 8, guys. They averaged 838 with a weighted average price of 209.69, and 726 head of 9-weight heifers averaged 934, weighted average price 194.51. Give you some individual quotes. How about Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri, right on I-70, just east of Columbia there, guys. Jack Harrison does a great job, and he did have one stick-out sale on a load of heifers, feeder heifers, 76 head of them, weighed 689 at 245.75 heifers. And the most impressive quote that I saw, and all the impressive quotes that I saw and people sent to me and I looked up, in your Mackerson No BS stick-out sale of the day was from Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. They sell 428 head of 1,005-pound steers at $212.25. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.